Performance control is important to ensure that your processes are doing what they should be doing. You're making and selling good products and making pots of cash while doing it. So let's check how performance control can be nicely organized to help you increase your profitability. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And in this video, we'll be going over the control loop, so the performance control loop, and it's part of the free loop system that I talked about in a previous video, where you vision how you are going to run your factory, what type of products are you going to make, which volumes, how are you going to perform. So you have this whole exercise of planning ahead what you are going to do, also what your different departments are going to do for improving, upkeeping your system. So this is budgeting, but budgeting with a bit more in it, of course. Not the topic for this video. What that goes into is we have a number of standards. So we have a plan, a production, general production plan. We know how fast our lines can go. We know how much material we need, which losses we probably have, how many people we need for that. And there are some decisions. So usually what you will see, and let's take a yearly cycle as an example, is that next year's budget, we say, well, we keep the same amount of people, volume goes up a bit. For this, the machine OEE will have to go up, and we do that by eliminating breakdowns. The cleaning time will stay the same. What you then basically do is you go into this infinite loop and you say the cleaning time part, that we have a nice standard, we just have to keep it up. So we're going to control it, and this circle will run a lot faster than the big circle. This is basically daily control. So every day we're going to check that the cleaning time is still what we planned it to be and not deteriorating. For the breakdowns, we have to do two things. So first off, we're going to daily control that we are at least not slipping away from our current level, but we're also going to plan an improvement project where we are going to tackle a specific part of our breakdowns, make sure that we have fewer breakdowns and increase our performance. Now, as soon as you do that, you will generate new standards. You will also generate a new level of breakdown that is normal for your factory or for this line. And then you again enter into the control loop. So every standard that we have, and this will be the main focus of what do you control, standards are what we keep in control. And standards are our performance levels, but they're also the ways that we work, or the ways that we make our product, or specifications and the quality levels attached. So these are all standards, and that is the basic understanding you need for how the control circle operates. And I've drawn 5 dots on the control circle. Now they go a bit like this. So to make it easier, I'll list them from right to left up, but I'll put some numbers next to it. So the first one here is, do we have the skills that are needed in the working population? Now you can do this for any type of process. So this can easily also be done for the planning team or your quality team. But the easiest example is workflow of a production department. So this will often be done with skill matrices, competence development, checking what do our operators, our team leads, what do they need to know, what do they need to be able to do to really run our processes in a nice and consistent way, and to troubleshoot when needed. And we check this by first off checking which skills do we need to begin with. We have a training plan, we have the whole skill development. This is basically all improvement when you don't have it. And at some point you say, well, these skill packages, or actually competency packages, they are needed to run line A. If you want to be an operator normally running on line A, this is the competency package that you need. There is a training program to get you to that level, and when you finish the training program, we assess if you can actually work with the line, and then you get your diploma, you're okay, you can now run this line, and you can be planned in on that line. And basically, this is the number one thing you will do when controlling, do I have the required skills? So you just go in to your organization, you have a couple of shifts that all need to run line A, B, and C. and you put a target there. You say, well, I would like at least 3 operators in every shift team to be able to operate line A. Now, the first shift has it, second shift only has 2 qualified operators. That means that we have a problem. And here we signaled a deviation. So we first had a plan, we visioned that we would have 3 operators being able to fully operate independently line A in each shift, and one of the shifts doesn't have enough operators. Now, you of course will say, well, you make a training plan and improve, and yes, indeed, this is also what you do. Another thing with the skills is that you can also really do the spot checks, right? So you can also check who is actually running the line. Are they assessed? Have they read and signed the latest update of instructions? Because that's the thing. I just told it like getting into the production department, then you are trained. And this is often done quite well, at least registered quite well, because it's a very logical point. When someone new comes in, you train them, they can run the line, then they get to work on it. But when you change your instructions halfway through, like for instance, when we were doing something to reduce the number of breakdowns, we probably also got to some new standard. So for instance, how you service the line or how you lubricate every week, and operators will do this. We added a bit of work and a bit of skill to the package that you need to have for operating line A. It gets in here, hopefully the improvement team, they trained all the operators in each shift. If they didn't, go back to them and really talk about it. But what you will often see is, well, somebody was on holiday, or maybe somewhere someone slipped through the cracks. So this can also be a check. Do we actually, the people operating the line, have all the required skills? Also after changes in the instruction documents, changes in the skill requirements, and of course indeed for new people or just people moving around different lines within the same department. Let's go to the second one. And I'll abbreviate it a bit, process confirmation. You've heard me on this one quite often, and that is because it is such an important part of making sure that your standards are being followed. Now, here in the skills check, we were checking, do we even have the required amount of learning and training and skills and competencies? So this is really the basics. Without it, you almost cannot succeed. In the second one, we check, are all our standards also being executed in practice? So maybe an operator is fully capable, but they don't put in the correct setting in a machine, or we often forget to do a emptying of a waste bin, and a full waste bin creates an unhygienic situation, or it's difficult to follow all the steps in a procedure. Even, and I've seen this multiple occasions, that it is practically impossible to follow a new standard. For instance, to follow the cleaning procedure, if you would do it really step by step, and this is often when it's not written by an operator but by someone who has more of a cleaning expert, if you do it step by step, you simply cannot even get back to the point where you were. Your hose gets tied up, or you are spraying on wrong parts of the machine, or things like that. And the operators, they all know it, and they just change the order of their own cleaning as they see fit, which is often, better in that direct moment. But that means we're not following the standard because the standard was wrong. So not following in process confirmation, not following a standard is not per se the fault of the operator. In fact, always check what organizational problems did we allow for this deviation to happen. But process confirmation, it is almost not about the actual results. So how much product did I make, or how many defects are in there, but really about do people follow the standards that we put out, including do they make a good count, including do they do correct quality checks, but definitely also a lot of leading type of KPIs, so to say. But do they check for errors? Do they maintain equipment? Are the settings correct? Is the material the correct one that needs to be done for the next shift? Is our planning department making logical plans, do our team leaders do their coaching rounds. You can make it as broad as you want. It is about processes, and you check, are the processes being performed correctly according to standards in practice. Now the third one then is performance control. So your performance control system, your daily meeting system, this is where you check the actual results coming out of your processes. And you see the step up here. So we check skill and competencies, which is like the real foundation of we need it, otherwise we really cannot expect stable results. We check, are the processes really being carried out in practice as we put it in our standards? Do we follow our own production standards? And the third level is, and is performance from this process also really giving us what we expected? Now, I think this one, you will know all the examples, right? If the OEE is not as high as you want, if you had more breakdowns, when you had quality defects, all these things where you basically, most of our KPIs are here. The traditional KPIs are here. Now, I also hope that companies put some KPIs on numbers 1 and 2, but what you see generally is at least 70% is focused on the outcomes. And this is good for a KPI. It's a nice way to just say yes or no, good or not. But don't forget the top 2. Now, what you will see here is that we can have deviations that will lead to bad performance. So we can have untrained people, we can have some of our processes not being standardized, or for instance, each shift team has their own way of setting up the machine. It's very common, so maybe they were not trained. More likely, we don't really check if we perform up to standards, and we can have all kinds of problems popping up and performance not being up to standards. So we have deviations in these control points. And then the fourth point is root cause problem solving or root cause analysis. But all of these deviations, they lead into we want to get back to standard. So all of these are a break from our envisioned standard. And if you do the visioning process correctly, you already know that you can make the standard, so that you can produce up to standard, you can work up to standard. If you see that currently you cannot, you first improve your process, but then you have a new standard. So all of this is a deviation from your known standards. And that is a problem to solve. What you do still have at this point is the choice, am I going to put a full-fledged team on that with 8 specialists that really dive into it for 2 months or so and really get to the core and fix half of the organization? Or is this something where we go and look a bit better at it, make sure that the countermeasures that we thought up are actually smart, and after 1 or 2 hours be definitely done with it, because we just do the improvement, just do the fix, so to say, and things in between. And this, of course, this is dependent on how bad is the change, how bad is the deviation. Do we know what the deviation specifically is? Do we, for instance, already know at least the causes, maybe even the root cause? Things like that determine how much effort we will put into root cause problem solving. But whenever you have a deviation from your standards, you will need to solve the problem and preferably solve the root cause of the problem. And this is how we keep our performance control loop going. So we keep checking every time. Did we find deviations? If yes, solve them, and well, hopefully anyway continue, right? Make sure that it is back to standard, and the next day again, and the next day again. And we also do this, let's say, on a management level. You will often do this weekly or monthly. In principle, your end of year report, your end of year accounting is basically one big control cycle where you do, for instance, a management review. Can often be done on a yearly cycle. The financial report. It will check, and then usually already not the skill part, although management review will check it and propose root cause problem solving for next year. But you also do this on a daily level. So daily you check, are my people trained, my processes up to standard, my performance as I would have expected it, correct anything that is a deviation, maybe not put all the resources you wanted to into every deviation you see, because there will generally be quite a number of them, but take your pick, and again the next day. So that is how the control cycle works, and it's very important to know that you check and the competencies and the processes itself and the actual performance. So when we are talking performance control, the performance control cycle doesn't only look at the actual KPI number. When you look at the underlying systems, so the standards and the prerequisites, you will build a much stronger organization that will actually live up to the performance control. Because that, and I didn't even say it yet, but that's the whole idea. When the skills and the processes are up to specs, your performance will be good. That's the whole idea. Make sure that you catch any deviations before they really damage your performance, before they damage your product, your income, your volumes. So always check them. And at the end of a whole cycle, at the end of a year, you take this information and process it into what will we do next month, what we'll do next year, 3 to 5 years, in the visioning cycle as well. So that for the performance control loop, get it into your organization to check all of these, and when you get more mature in running your operation, you will probably also want to include specifically all of them into your performance control meeting. Build it out to go backwards more and more. So you start with performance, then you add in standards, then you add in competencies as well, and make sure that you control the stability of your processes so that you make good products and make bucket loads of money from it. Now, if you liked this explanation, please don't forget to hit that like button. If you'd like me to explain some different CI topics, also please let me know in the comments below, or find me on LinkedIn or send me a mail. But I'd love to hear it also in the comments. I read them all, and then I will be happy to let my mind go over it, get a new video in the playing list sometime soon. For now, I wish you the best of luck in your performance control, but also, as always, enjoy the improvement journey.